We interrupt this program to give you the Suburban Zulu Show, darling, with Rainbow Nation myth-busting black queer extraordinaire Lelo Macheke. Oh my god, oh Jesu. I forgot to bring my tea. Now I have nothing to slurp. You see, maybe if I actually had a team of people, I wouldn't be in this situation, but it's fine. It's fine. Hello! So as you can see, I decided to switch it up a little bit for you guys, worked a little hard on my wardrobe, got my ears pierced, darling, cut a bit of that hair off. Actually, I cut a lot of it. Yeah, my life is different. I think with this look, I'm low-key trying to go for the humble, kind of aesthetic. Because in my 21 years of existence, the only thing that people only seem to know how to tell me is that I'm not humble. And I've also noticed that people have this weird tendency of pairing being humble with being successful.
And I'm just trying to be successful.
So I've decided to try this humble look out for 5 or 10 minutes or so. Actually, on the topic of me cutting my hair, I really did not know that people would make such a ras out of me cutting my own hair. People be like... Hello? Why did you cut your hair? Whoa, Magenge, just brigani for a little bit. Handbrake, please. Well, I cut my hair because number one, I felt like it. Okay, it was expensive to maintain. And number two, guys, it's summertime now. Angifuna ukushiselwa la ekhanda. Like, mental heat waves are actually a real thing. Like, the whole drama about me cutting my hair got to a point where someone actually approached me and they were like, "Oh my goodness, Lilo, you've got the breadwinner's cut." I was so confused. I was like, well, what does the breadwinner look like? Is it the single father of twins who's always called into disciplinary hearings at school because his twin boys just don't know how to behave? Or is it the mother of 3 who's always complaining about her Tupperwares going missing, even though she knows very well she's going to receive at least another 10 sets of Tupperwares at the Stockville meeting next week Sunday? Anyway, so many of you have requested that I do a Great Dane episode. No, I'm actually lying. 3 people asked me to do a Great Dane episode because I'm not famous yet. So if anybody knows anything remote or arbitrary about me, they will know that I love Great Dane. Between Liquid Blue and Great Dane, those are the 2 hangout spots that compete for the number 1 position in my heart. I've been going to Great Dane since it opened, really. Great Dane is like my actual second home. The barmen are like my actual uncles, and I no longer stand in the actual line. That's how I knew I was a lifetime member. That's how I knew. When you don't stand in the line. Because we all know how stressful and traumatic of an experience standing in that line can be. Because by the time you get to the entrance, you're already shook and mungu from standing in that line for at least 45 minutes to an hour. But besides the politics of the Great Dane queue, Great Dane is really one of my favorite places to hang out. All the more because on Saturdays seems to be the day when all the gays just come through and unite. Please, don't get me wrong, don't misinterpret me. Gay people are not a monolithic group of people. We're not all at Great Dane holding hands, singing Weekend Special or doing the bus to a Mafikizolo song. Like, no, that's not happening. And just like in any other society or community, there are divisions. So at Great Dane, you have different types and different groups of gays. Or let me say non-heterosexual men. So you've got the neck choker rocking alternative cool kid group. And then you've got the suede cap, trench coat from Woolworths, Puma sneakers, Rihanna is the number 1 most played artist in my iPhone 6 Plus group. And then you've got the ones who are happily committed during the day and then magically become single by the time everybody crosses over to Liquid Blue at night. And last, but never the least, darling, you have the ruling class. Okay, so the ruling class comprises of different personalities and identities which are all united by mainly 2 factors: social popularity and academic or professional prowess. So anyway, onto the story. It's a chill day in early December. I'm dancing with my friends. I got my blue lagoon in my hand. You know, gumnande lifein. So now it's tense in my heart. He's looking back at me. He's making certain wink wink, you know, advances of that nature. As gorgeous as I am, I'm still not used to being approached by guys and, you know, doing the whole flirtation thing, you know what I mean? I'm literally the type of person to ask you, what kind of bread do you like, after you whisper like sweet nothings into my ear. So the situation is even more awkward for me, at least, because I know this guy through good and bad rumors. At first, I was very chuffed that he was looking my way. Bengichazekile. You know, Cosment. He's just so handsome and determined and accomplished and charming, you know. He's the kind of guy that you take home to your parents straight after the first date. But then it was also known ukuthi uyi player yomhlaba Jesus yo. Like, if there was a university for fuckboys, he would be the vice chancellor. Yes, he would. So on the one hand, you know, I'm trying to jive, have a good time. And on the other hand, I'm also doing mental mathematics, trying to figure out why it's always the good looking ones who end up doing the devil's work. But then I was just like, he's not gonna approach me. Why would he approach me? I mean, I know I'm gorgeous and all, but he's not gonna approach me. Angdumanga ngaluto, so whatever. So at first, he walks past me a couple of times, you know. I guess he was just trying to suss out, you know, what the situation was. And obviously at this stage, I'm smiling like an idiot because one of the most prominent people in the elite class of gays is like paying attention to me, darling. And then he did that deliberate thing. He deliberately finds me in a space where there's like lots of people around me so that he could like deliberately graze past me. Homeboy was on some sorry about that. I mean, he was obviously touching me because he was trying to feel what he was actually working with. So obviously at this stage, my smiling is like childish levels now. But then all of a sudden, he just stopped. He stopped smiling at me. He stopped pursuing me. He just stopped. I mean, based on my life experiences and my calculations, I've discovered that when someone stops pursuing you, it's likely because number one, they know they're gorgeous, and number two, people subsequently throw themselves at them. They're so used to having people throwing themselves at them that they ain't gotta work hard for anybody, really. But I was never gonna be that person who would give in by throwing myself at him. My pride levels are just naturally too high for me to give in to somebody like that. Sorry, nope. So in that moment, I just decide, oh, this is clearly the end of him and I. The energies of the sexual nature was great for a brief moment. Ulife uyagoza ona. Show mfethu. So for reasons that are obvious and natural, I head over to the bar. So as I'm walking to the bar, I feel like this increasing pressure by my crotch area, and then all of a sudden I'm like sucked in. Someone has just grabbed me by my crotch and has pulled me towards them. The actual disrespect. Can you imagine? So I look up and guess who it is? It's the pretty charming and accomplished young man from the ruling class of gays. So now he's chatting his chat and he first starts off by apologizing for grabbing my crotch area on the basis that he didn't know how else to approach me. And I was like, well, yeah, that's kind of what happens when you're gorgeous and you know it, and you're so used to people throwing themselves at you that when you get the one person who actually doesn't throw themselves at you, you do awkward and snacks things like grab them by their crotch area. Like, what happened to the good old, hey sweetheart, umuhle, can I talk to you for 5 minutes? Or if you suffer from like skyrocketing levels of anxiety, then just send a friend to come speak on your behalf. Wait, whoa. Because previous life experiences have actually taught me that if you send a friend to go speak on your behalf on someone that you like, that friend is going to take advantage of the situation and use that opportunity to shoot their shot. Jarr, people are not loyal, man. Yes! So whatever, he apologizes and life goes on. So he's chatting his chat, shooting his shot, making the things that make ukushela to be done, you know what I'm saying? And the more he tries to sweet talk me and whisper all these irrelevant nothings in my ears, the more he starts to reveal problematic parts of his identity and his mindset. So until he starts saying things nje is big eceleni. So the first problematic thing he says to me is,
yeah, I like your vibe, you know what I mean? I've been checking you out for the longest time, and I like the fact that you're gay, but you're not like a gay.
So then I ask him, like, what's a gay? And he's like,
No, I mean like, you don't necessarily like act like a girl, you know what I mean?
so at this point, my
Feminism blood is just boiling.
but I don't interject just yet. I give him an opportunity to, kind of explain himself, because I just take it for granted that, hey, he's young, he's well educated, he's well traveled. I'm sure he's better than this, right? Then he says to me,
You know, the one thing you could really work on is just getting a little bit more buff. I mean, you got a great body and all, but you could just get a little bit more buff.
so then I ask him, like, what do you mean I must get a little buff? Like, why must I do that? And he's like,
I've been watching your vibe, and you're not really like a gay, you know, you're kind of like on the other side. So I'm just thinking that maybe if you could, get a little bigger, it'll really complement your vibe, you know what I mean?
Security! Hello! Security!
I mean, I'd really like to think of myself as a relatively composed and respectful person, but I was so infuriated. I literally told this guy to restart his life. I told this guy to go back to his mother's womb, be born again, grow the fuck up, and then come back to me and have this conversation anew. I mean, I've always known, on an intellectual level at least, that the non-heterosexual community is embedded by the values of a heteronormative culture which prioritizes hypermasculinity and violent masculinity and the subsequent hatred of the feminine spirit. But it's another thing to experience that level of hatred and that kind of hatred on an emotional and a psychological and an experiential level. The person who's trying to mac on me is a non-heterosexual individual who employs certain hypermasculine ideals because it awards him certain privileges. And this individual knows very well that these privileges help him navigate his sexuality and his expression as a man more easier than other non-heterosexual men. So his buff model-esque appearance, the depth of his voice, and his social/financial/class position. Hence, he is one of the few, or the very many, who is awarded a position in the ruling elite of the Great Dane Geighs. The non-heterosexual community is more exclusionary than we would like to admit. The discomfort and hatred that is exerted and shown towards femininity and effeminate guys in our community astounds me, because those are the very spirits that curate and create culture. Them artists, them performers, them assemblers of words and fashion and fabric and color. Those are the spirits that make inclusivity happen at an individual level in terms of negotiating your identity to the point where you can be at peace with yourself, and on a social level where spaces have been created to be more inclusive of people who are just like you, non-heterosexual or non-hegemonic beings. Because when one does a cross-section of the non-heterosexual culture, not only in the South African context, but just globally, you will find that it is the feminine spirit that is both the foundation and the supporting pillar of the non-heterosexual world. The feminine spirit is an inescapable one because it is a part of who we are as non-heterosexual/non-hegemonic beings, whether you like it or not. And in all honesty, I don't buy the preference argument. Like, yes, bro, I really don't, eh? Because if you're serious about assessing the way that humanity has evolved and continues to evolve, the most obvious fact that will jump out and bite your actual bulge is that we are human beings that are living racialized, sexualized, gendered, and politicized lives. A person is not just born with a default and unchanging set of opinions about the world. Look, I'm not saying that one shouldn't have preferences or doesn't deserve to have preferences. What I am saying is that given the track record of our humanity and our evolution, your preference will never ever be without an element of prejudice. Finished and clear, my boy. What I would want, particularly from non-heterosexual men who embrace and embody hypermasculine ideals is to interrogate their hatred for femininity and effeminate spirits within the non-heterosexual community. I would love for you guys to ask yourselves, what is it about the feminine spirit that makes me so uncomfortable? And if you're serious about answering that question, you will know two things. Number one, you will know that "I'm not into feminine guys" is not a satisfactory answer. And two, you will also know that you cannot answer that question overnight. It requires deep and meaningful interrogation of who you are, what you believe, where you come from, who you surround yourself with, and the history of yourself as an individual, your family, your friends, and your community. And it's a question that we just seem to evade. We just don't want to answer that question. When we see and encounter effeminate men in our space, it's kind of just like they're there for decoration. No, boo-boo. These identities, these spirits are so important. And really getting to the bottom of that discomfort, that hatred, that shame is the kind of work that is difficult and takes time. But I'm telling you, once we do that work, I think we'll have a little bit more peace in our community, locally and globally. So anyway, I carried on partying, sipped my Blue Lagoon, twerked to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, yes! And life was great. I moved on and my night was wonderful. I just really don't have the time to entertain people who use hypermasculinity as like the default and desired identity that everybody wants to either embody or be attracted to or be with. Because, sweetheart, uninterrogated and unchecked masculinity, it's a prison. Ijele. I don't care how attractive you are, how buff you are, how deep your voice is, how deep your pockets are, how straight acting you can be. For as long as your identity and your association with masculinity remains unchecked, you, my brother lover, will never be free. So now that I've spoken the truth and ashamed the devil, it is time for me to say bye. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this week's episode, click the like and subscribe button. If you did not like this week's episode, click the like and subscribe button because the message this week was extremely important.